Have you ever wondered, why is your blood pressure often higher in the morning, even when you had a healthy dinner the night before? Today we'll follow the story of Emma, a 68-year-old woman with a seemingly harmless habit, skipping breakfast. But that one small habit was quietly causing her morning blood pressure to spike. And she had no idea it was happening.
Good morning, Doctor. My name is Emma. I'm 68 years old and live in Florida with my husband and our old cat, Oliver. We've been retired for a few years now, and life has been fairly peaceful. Every morning, I usually wake up around 6 a.m., pour myself a cup of coffee, open the window to let the sunlight in, and sit down to read a few pages of the newspaper. I know a lot of people eat breakfast right after they wake up. But for me, breakfast has never really been a habit, partly because I don't feel hungry in the morning, and partly because, well, I just feel too lazy to prepare anything. Most days, I just have my coffee, maybe a thin cookie, if I feel like it, and that's it. But lately, I've started to notice something strange. In the mornings, when I check my blood pressure as my doctor recommended it, tends to be higher than usual. Most days it's around 145/90, and some mornings it even reaches 150. But at night, right before bed, my readings are completely normal. I haven't changed my medication. My daily routine is pretty much the same. Except for one thing. I still don't eat breakfast. That's made me wonder, could skipping breakfast, a habit I've had for decades, have something to do with these high morning blood pressure readings? I really don't want this to turn into a serious issue. So today I wanted to ask, could skipping breakfast actually be causing my blood pressure to spike in the morning? And if so, what should I change?
Thank you, Mrs. Margaret, for such a thoughtful question. What you're experiencing is actually very common among older adults. Many people skip breakfast simply because they're not hungry or don't want the hassle of cooking. But what they may not realize is that this habit can directly affect their blood pressure, especially in the morning. Let me explain it in the simplest way. After going all night without eating, your body enters what we call a fasting state. When you wake up and still don't eat anything, this fasting continues and your body responds by releasing a wave of stress hormones, most notably cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are often called hunger hormones. They help keep your body alert and awake. But the downside is that they also raise your heart rate and cause your blood vessels to tighten. And, as a result, your blood pressure goes up. For younger people, the body can usually regulate this fairly quickly. But in older adults like yourself, Mrs. Margaret, the autonomic nervous system isn't as responsive as it once was. That means the body is slower to bring blood pressure back down. So when you skip breakfast, your blood pressure in the morning can easily spike due to the lack of early energy. And on top of that, coffee, while a familiar comfort, can actually make things worse if you drink it on an empty stomach. Caffeine stimulates your adrenal glands, prompting them to release even more adrenaline, which increases your heart rate and raises your blood pressure. And from what you've shared, it sounds like you usually just have coffee without eating anything, right? That would explain exactly why your morning blood pressure is running high. Here's another interesting point that many people overlook. When we eat breakfast, especially one rich in protein and fiber, our blood sugar stays more stable, which helps reduce stress on the heart and blood vessels. But when we skip that meal, our blood sugar tends to drop too low, then spike later, especially if lunch is late or overly heavy. That kind of fluctuation can also affect blood pressure. So in short, the reason you're seeing your morning blood pressure rise may be your body's response to a lack of energy after a night's sleep, combined with drinking coffee on an empty stomach. For older adults, This sensitivity is even more noticeable since the body's ability to regulate blood pressure naturally declines with age. Dear Mrs. Emma, I'm really glad you brought this up. It may seem like a small habit, but over time, it can become a serious health risk. First of all, elevated blood pressure in the morning is one of the most dangerous risk factors for early day strokes. It's no coincidence that many strokes and heart attacks occur between 6 and 10 a.m. That's when blood pressure naturally tends to rise, and if you add in extra stressors like skipping breakfast and drinking coffee on an empty stomach, the risk only multiplies. Second, skipping breakfast can cause your blood sugar to drop, leading to fatigue, shaky hands, and dizziness, especially when you stand up too quickly. While younger bodies can often recover quickly, older adults are more prone to a condition called orthostatic hypotension, where blood pressure drops suddenly upon standing. This is actually one of the most common yet dangerous causes of falls among seniors. Third, not eating breakfast can throw off your body's natural rhythm. Without that early fuel, your metabolism slows down, your hormones become unbalanced, and your mood may become more unstable. Older adults are especially sensitive to small changes like this, which can leave you feeling sluggish, drained, and even affect your memory and concentration throughout the day. Fourth, and this is something most people don't consider, skipping breakfast often leads to overeating later in the day, especially at lunch or dinner. Eating large meals in one sitting, particularly in the evening, puts a strain on the heart, contributes to weight gain, messes with cholesterol levels, and once again can drive up your blood pressure. Over time, this seemingly harmless habit can become a quiet contributor to heart disease, physical decline, and reduced quality of life. I've seen patients who never smoked, never drank, and ate well for lunch and dinner, but just because they skipped breakfast for decades, they ended up struggling with hard-to-control blood pressure in their later years. So, Mrs. Emma, skipping breakfast doesn't just cause a temporary spike in blood pressure, it can be your Achilles heel in the journey of senior health. Mrs. Emma, the good news is that morning blood pressure spikes caused by skipping breakfast can often be improved quite easily, and it doesn't require a major lifestyle overhaul. All it takes is starting with small, steady steps that fit comfortably into a senior's daily rhythm. First of all, you don't need to force yourself to eat a big breakfast if that's not your habit. The key here is consistency, not quantity. A light but balanced breakfast can make a big difference. Here are a few simple ideas. A slice of whole grain toast with peanut butter. A hard-boiled egg with some steamed vegetables. A small bowl of oatmeal made with almond milk and a few slices of banana. Or just a smoothie with unsweetened yogurt, flax seeds, and soft fruits like strawberries or blueberries. What do all these breakfast options have in common? They're rich in protein and fiber and have a low glycemic index, meaning they provide steady energy without causing big spikes in blood pressure or blood sugar. If you don't feel hungry in the morning, try adjusting the order of your routine. Instead of drinking coffee right after waking up, start with a glass of warm water to soothe your stomach. Then take a light walk around the yard or balcony. This helps wake up your body and naturally stimulates appetite. By the time you finish, it'll be much easier to eat something small. Here's another little tip. Prepare your breakfast the night before. For example, you can mix rolled oats with almond milk and a few slices of fruit, then leave it in the fridge overnight. In the morning, you just grab and eat, no cooking required. This kind of preparation can be a lifesaver for seniors when energy is low in the morning and simplicity is key. Most importantly, try to eat something before you drink your coffee, even just a small bite. It helps neutralize stomach acid and reduces the impact caffeine has on your nervous system and blood pressure. Also, continue monitoring your blood pressure each morning and jot down the numbers. Keeping a record will not only help you track progress, but also serve as motivation when you see your readings start to stabilize. And finally, think of breakfast as a form of self-care. It doesn't need to be fancy or complicated, just a few mindful minutes to nourish your body and set the tone for your day. In the end, that small act of kindness to yourself may be the best gift you can give your heart each morning. So we've walked through what seemed like a simple question together. Does skipping breakfast affect my morning blood pressure? And the answer is yes. It absolutely does, and often in very noticeable ways. Through Mrs. Emma's story, we're reminded of a simple truth. The small habits we carry for years, sometimes even decades, can quietly shape our health. Not because we're missing medication, not because of bad genetics, but simply because the body hasn't been cared for in the little ways it needs, like starting the day with a balanced breakfast. Morning high blood pressure is not something to brush off. This is when the heart and blood vessels are most vulnerable. Skipping breakfast only makes things worse, especially when paired with caffeine or early day stress. Instead of making sudden drastic changes, I encourage you and everyone watching to just start small. Tonight, prepare a light breakfast for tomorrow morning. Have a glass of warm water before your coffee. And if you're not hungry yet, try some gentle movement to wake up your appetite. It doesn't have to be fancy or complicated, just consistent. With time, your body will adjust, and your blood pressure will follow. And taking care of our health in our golden years doesn't always require big changes. Sometimes, a small bowl of morning oatmeal is enough to begin a healthier day and a longer, more joyful life. Thank you for staying with us until the end of today's video. If you've ever found yourself wondering, just like Mrs. Emma did, can skipping breakfast really affect my blood pressure this much? Then welcome. You're certainly not alone. Today, it was Emma's story, but tomorrow, it could be yours, your partner's, or even your parents' or siblings'. We truly believe that senior health doesn't begin with dramatic changes. It starts with small daily care. Something as simple as a gentle, nourishing breakfast can make all the difference. If you've ever experienced unusually high blood pressure in the morning, or if you tend to skip breakfast because you're just not hungry, we'd love to hear your story in the comments below. We read every single one, and sometimes we reply faster than your heart rate when the phone rings unexpectedly first thing in the morning. And if you found today's video helpful, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. Each week we share new videos that are simple, gentle, and yet meaningful, designed to help you take care of your heart, your memory, and your overall well-being. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Wishing you a beautiful morning, one that starts with a small meal filled with warmth and self-care.